Hey guys, this is another wrestling show on your wrestling channel. Look at that for consistency. Just over 2 weeks of doing this and we're already on to our third video. The numbers are going up as well, not where I want them because we were used to regularly getting past 1,000, but I'll promote it better. I will go on to the podcast where we have many more subscribers, and I'll let people know that there is content over on the YouTube, and that will coincide with additional content, free content on the podcast, as well as I'm choosing to make a go of this time around, at least for this temporary period. Don't know how long this will last, but I'm going to give it a good go because, as we know, there are content creators out there that are far, far worse and have more of a following. We're going to circle back to that exact point later on in the show. But I'm going to tell you what this one's going to primarily focus on, and it's AJ Lee again, this time the return after it's actually happened. The last episode was telling you how it definitely was going to happen and not to buy into any swerves that were being put out there. And we're also going to blend in some Vince Russo talk again, going back to something from the first episode. So that's going to be the primary focus. And I want to get this out of the way and make this clear. Absolutely love Vince Russo as a person. Don't have anything bad to say about Vince as a guy and my personal interactions with him and our personal relationship and conversations. But as someone who covers wrestling, it's starting to get embarrassing at this point because it's very, very clear what he's doing. It's very, very clear what he's going to say. And a few years ago, when I landed on Russo's platform, I was critical of what Jim Cornette had become. And my accusation is that Cornette had become somewhat of a parody of himself and was kind of like a puppet where you pull this string and Cornette would give you exactly the catchphrases and the opinions that you wanted from him. As we fast forward 5 years from me having that take, Cornette is by far not the worst. When you're looking at an Eric Bischoff and you're looking at a Vince Russo and you're looking at the things that people go to them and want them to say and expect to hear from them, they are far, far worse than Jim Cornette. They are the real puppets now, and Jim Cornette seems a lot more balanced, even though he has clear dislike for AEW, but who would argue with anything that he says? AEW is a shitty company who are terrible when it comes to booking wrestling, and even when it comes to staging their shows and how they make the shows ridiculously long, which is what we spoke about last time, not knowing how to book it from top to bottom, starting hot, calming things down, putting another hot match in the middle, closing out hot, and having those come down periods on a pay-per-view. If you can't even master the basics of pay-per-view booking and how it needs to be staggered throughout your show, and something that even WWE aren't doing right now, they do it more than AEW, but AEW very, very bad at it. If you can't get that right, you're not going to be able to write or book compelling television, and AEW can't do that. I watched the last episode of Dynamite because I was just told to watch it to see the building that they're in, and the show was awful. And the next week's show, which I fast forwarded through mostly, was awful too. But so we know that Cornette's comments about AEW are not overly harsh, even though we know exactly what we're going to get. But Vince Russo at this point in time has crossed over to being an absolute parody. And we're going to talk about specific examples when we move forward. But I want to first of all give my opinion of the segment and the return that's causing all this conversation, causing the water cooler talk, and that is the return of AJ. And I thought that it was perfectly done. I felt that it couldn't have been done any better. And you have these people going on podcasts, and mainly Russo and his clan, who all just kind of follow along with the same opinions. They're all sheep. Stevie Richards is a sheep. Ben Hameen is a sheep. They all just kind of go along and they do what Russo wants them to do. Otherwise, if they didn't, at this point in time, you wouldn't be working with Vince. Vince doesn't want to be working with anybody who has any kind of different opinion to him, whether it be that geek Chris Featherstone or this Mac guy that he works with, and we'll have examples later. They all just go along with the Russo narrative. And if you're someone like me, or you're someone like Disco, he's going to fall out with you. He's not going to, at least professionally, he's not going to work with you. He's not going to have you on his show to give you any kind of debate or any kind of disagreement. He just wants to work with sheep. And the sheep all go along with him and say, why are we having this pop for AJ Lee? Why are these marks popping for AJ Lee? Well, the bottom line is, whatever you may think of AJ Lee and her status as a superstar, wherever you may place her in the rankings, the fact that Triple H and the company were able to generate that level of pop from these marks, the fact that they were able to deliver that kind of pop, the fact that they were able to create that level of anticipation is a credit to the WWE and Triple H. If you don't think she's a star, yet they managed to milk that type of reaction from someone who you don't perceive to be a star, that is a credit to them, because they got more out of something that you considered to be less. Russo should have recognized that as an ex-booker. He's someone that takes great credit for pushing the young superstars above the old guard, the old tried and tested. He literally takes credit for that. He takes credit for making Booker T into a star, for the way that he made Jeff Jarrett a star and the things he did for him and some of the younger guys, the Hardys, Edge and Christian. He wants to take credit for all of that, which is a prime example of getting more from less. So they get more from less, and you're turning around and criticizing them and saying these marks are cheering for AJ Lee. It's because of the way it was done. It would have been easy to have AJ Lee come out and be a surprise entrant in the Battle Royal at an Evolution pay-per-view, or something much less. Some sort of surprise appearance with no promotion. The fact is that we set up a storyline here. We had CM Punk go out there and Becky Lynch slap him around. And Becky Lynch, by the way, has been absolutely phenomenal. She has done, I would argue, she has done the best work of her career over the last 2 weeks. The Monday Night Raw performance with Punk, the Monday Night performance last night, and in between that, sandwiched in, the best performance was that she delivered for the AJ Lee return. She made AJ Lee even bigger than AJ Lee already was. Now, to criticize this, and the number of criticisms that Russo has put out there, just shows a lack of understanding of A, what AJ Lee means to your emo, goth, rainbow-haired girls out there. And whilst it doesn't mean the same thing to me, there is a portion of the audience that love AJ Lee, that will go mad for AJ Lee, that will cry over AJ Lee's return, and we'll back that up later with evidence. And he doesn't understand that, and he also has been massively critical of Becky Lynch, even to the point where he has criticised things that she's worn, criticised her outfits on TV, and has gone as far to say that she doesn't look like a superstar.
She doesn't look good. I mean, you know, remember she was doing the cosplay for a long time, and now she in my opinion, the presentation of Becky Lynch is not that of a star. It looks like she's just throwing herself together and going out there. I don't know if that's her idea of what a heel is. Chris, let's you and I be honest. There's still a lot of guys watching this show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, can we be out? Guys like attractive women. That's part of a draw. So I don't know if she's doing it purposely because she's saying, oh, now I'm a heel and I can't look good. But that's not what's coming across. What's coming across is you look like you don't care what your appearance is because you're not appearing like a star. And I don't know what's going. She went from one extreme to the other where she was spending so much money. I remember the big Terminator glasses. Remember all that stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
now I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, she was big time Bex. You know, now she's Mama Becky. I mean, that's those mom vibes. You know what I mean? Yes. It definitely seems as if, to me, now the appearance thing I never really noticed that, but to me the zeal that she had before doesn't feel like it's the same. It definitely, there's parts of me that definitely see Becky Lynch nowadays. She has name value to push up this Intercontinental Championship, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But to me, when I see a lot of Becky stuff, it feels like some of it's phoning it in because she wants to go back home to see, Rue. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it feels like that.
Yeah. So of course, Chris the Cuck is going to sit there and just agree with everything that Russo says, because that's all Russo's content now. Everybody just agrees with everything, otherwise they wouldn't be sitting there. And he's like, oh, it's Mama Becky. It's Mama Becky. What the hell does that have to do with anything? How is she going out there dressed as somebody's mum specifically by wearing leather popper bottoms that are now massively in fashion, but you wouldn't know that because one guy is a complete geek and the other one is in his 60s and he doesn't leave Colorado for any reason. And I don't think when he does go outside, when he goes out to do whatever he does in Colorado, that he's surrounded by the height of fashion. So what the hell would he know about the fact that Becky's coming out there in the latest popper joggers? She's out there always wearing the newest pair of Jordans. What the hell does that have to do with being a mum? These guys are completely and utterly clueless. I don't need to know what a 60-plus-year-old who lives in Colorado and doesn't ever leave his house thinks about how a woman on television dresses for her gimmick, or however she chooses to dress for it, or whatever she wears. There's no mama vibes here. Becky Lynch every week is the absolute height of fashion if you actually knew anything about it. If you don't, then you should just shut the fuck up. And that's what Russo needs to do sometimes. He needs to, if he wants to criticize every single bit of the product, right, then at least have a clue about it. If you want to be, I'm ex-booker, I wrote WWE and it's in the Attitude Era and I know exactly how to book everything, then come back with and say how you would book everything. Break down, scrutinize each and every individual segment and tell me what you would do. That's the only thing I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear about fashion when you're hitting your mid-60s, when, number one, you don't know anything about it, and number two, it's completely wrong because she's the height of fashion. Everything that's new and that you're supposed to be wearing right now, from the popper bottoms to the coats to the Jordans, Becky's doing it right every single week. I know this because I live in London. I leave my house. I've been an ex-club promoter, so I see what these girls are doing. I keep in touch with these people, and I'm not nearly 70 years old. So that is helpful when you are trying to have an opinion on fashion and things like that, and modern day trends of what you see on TV. And I also have a son, by the way, who's 14 years old, who wants all this shit. I don't think Russo's kids are asking him for clothes anymore. So it's completely wrong. And this point was complete BS, as was his take on the entire return. So we'll listen to what he had to say about that, because I was particularly interested about this because I had an opinion on Russo in episode 1. I don't like giving opinions on his content because I really like Vince as a person. I ran it by Disco. I sent him the video and said to Disco, who's fallen out with Vince, and said, what do you think of this? And he just completely agreed with it. So now I watched this particular segment, which I thought was fantastic. I thought it was unbelievably well built up. You got the absolute most that you could possibly get out of AJ Lee. And I wanted to see if Russo could at least be balanced about a segment that was universally liked, or at least liked by 95% of people, other than those ones who like to hate watch, because it's not just Russo that does it. And this is what he had to say.
My sister could beat you up.
I didn't hear that. No,
he made a comment about his sister saying she could come in here and beat your ass. And I'm thinking, well, that's a great way to put over Becky Lynch as the man. You know, your sister can beat her ass.
Exactly. But like that look on her, who's telling her to play it that way, man? If anything, Mac, I mean, come on, bro. Listen, look at the size of AJ Lee. You know, if anything, it should have. They've worked together in the past, right? I mean, I'm sure.
I'm not sure if they have. To be honest with you, I'm not sure.
Because if anything, the proper response is to you smile. And now, if you're the man, if you're a real competitor, you're going to. You know, okay, yeah, great. You know what I'm saying? You're going to smile. I got this. Unless it is a monster coming down the ramp. If it's a monster, you've got that holy shit look. What did I get myself into? When it's somebody that weighs less than you and they're skipping to my loo, you can't have a look on your face like freaking King Kong and Godzilla are walking down. Like, come on, Becky, how long have you been in this business? And whoever is producing that segment in the back, what are you freaking telling her? My God, can you guys try to be the least bit realistic? A tiny little bit realistic.
Instead, you send her out there and make her pretend she has no idea, making her the dumbest son of a bitch in the entire building because she's here.
Yeah, who are you going to send? You got nobody. Who are you going to send? Oh, well, my wife happens to be a professional wrestler. How about I send her?
Oh, no.
Come on.
Rowan Curtis. Hey, Rowan, always good to see you in here.
Yeah, so more absolute bullshit from these two guys. That guy, Mac, just sitting there agreeing with Russo like a seal, just clapping. Yes, Vince. Yes, Vince. Absolute nonsensical points. You built it. First of all, when they're talking about her being surprised to the reaction and her turning around and saying, who you got, you ain't got nobody, and that she should have known it was AJ Lee. Well, AJ Lee retired 10 years ago. Why would you know it's AJ Lee? Are we supposed to assume that the wrestlers now are going onto the dirt sheets and working out who it was? At the end of the day, that's the story. That's the story that you're telling. Like, you're supposed to be out there giving a performance, and his advice is that you're supposed to no-sell everything, and he's criticizing someone for selling something really well. First of all, the AJ Lee character was a psychopath. And whilst we're at the point in the business where I agree, there are too many people who are my size, and I'm 6'1" and I'm 180 pounds, and I'm around WWE hotels a lot, and there are a lot of guys, and even in the gyms, where they look smaller, they're doing less weight, they're shorter than me, they're not as wide as me. And I'm not saying that should necessarily mean that I qualify for being a wrestler, but there was a point where I was involved in British wrestling, and there were plans for me to do a lot more. And I kind of gravitated more towards just moving over to commentary, because I didn't feel that wrestling was an avenue that I could take. I was 154 pounds at the time, which is very small. I bulked up for my wrestling match. I got myself up to 165, 166. And now I'm like 180. But because obviously you're now looking at going to the gym for 18 years. So it's obviously natural weight gain. But at the time, before that, I didn't have to do that. I got onto Big Brother, and I was an ex-model. And my whole thing was, not eating, or eating 1,000 to 1,500 calories per day to maintain a super skinny physique, which is what I went into Big Brother with. So for me to be recruited by British Wrestling as a fan, which was obviously only to benefit them, because I just had the rub of being on TV on a show watched by 8 million people, and they wanted the rub from me, and I was the center of the main storyline, and it did involve me wrestling, and they very quickly realized that I was naturally the best promo on the show, because British wrestling guys are terrible at talking. They still are. They still can't cut promos. Look at Will Ospreay, he can't cut a promo. It's awful. So that's something that they don't focus on enough. And I always don't feel that wrestling promos sound as good in that British accent anyway. It's just something, for me, it's a very American thing. It's why I like it. And I don't think it quite gels when there are Brits doing it. I think Drew McIntyre has improved massively in the last 2 years to kind of be less British, less Scottish, and to kind of make you not really notice that he's a foreigner, and has done a really good job of just being a good promo, which I don't think he was as good three or 4 years ago, and he definitely is now. And I say that as a friend of Drew, because I'll just be straight up about anything. I don't care. And when I was there, I never felt that I was ever going to be big enough to go far in it, and that it would never be believable. Fast forward to the now, and we've had the CM Punks, the Daniel Bryans, and obviously there was always Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio was always unique. I've got a bite on my shoulder, by the way. It's fucking itchy as fuck. That's why I keep scratching it, and I can't help it. I was going to ignore it for this video, but it's just too much. Yeah, I didn't realise the number of smaller guys that would come through, to the point that it would sort of gravitate towards the norm, which it does now. But at the end of the day, her character is that she was psycho. She was this girl that could just flip the switch. She could go toe to toe with the girls, and Becky also is a heel. She's a heel bully. She took advantage of the fact that she was a woman. This kind of borderline touched on domestic abuse. It kind of would have been a segment that resonated with men who have maybe been in that situation, where a girlfriend or a wife took advantage of that situation and were able to hit them, and pushed them into a situation where they couldn't hit back. And if they did hit back, then she would be the victim. A lot of men know about this situation, and this kind of did cleverly touch on that, and put CM Punk in a situation, was fucking annoying, in a situation where a lot of men would have been sitting there and would have been able to relate to that situation. So this did kind of pull on some very controversial strings without going the whole way, and I felt that's just another thing that made it so good, pushing and prodding Punk to the point where you knew what was coming. You did want to see Becky Lynch get her ass kicked. She's this chicken shit, manipulative bitch who took advantage of this situation, and you wanted to see her get hers. And even though AJ's not as big as her or whatever, at the end of the day, this is a bully who cheats to win matches and who wants to take advantage of the fact a man can't hit her. And now any kind of level playing field is going to elicit a negative reaction from this girl who you've booked as a manipulative coward, because she is a chicken shit heel who reacted perfectly in this situation. And then they're complaining that her husband sat there in the stands. Well, he's a chicken shit heel too. He's not going to run down from the stands. He's not going to jump over the barriers to protect his wife, because he's a piece of shit that also waited for the perfect opportunity to cash in on CM Punk, faked his injury, and he's not going to be in any rush to protect his wife, because he's not a good protective husband. He's a chicken shit heel, and she's a chicken shit heel. And as a booker, surely you would understand how that works. Surely you understand how to book heels. Maybe you don't, because you're also the same person. Whilst you are responsible for a lot of the good things in the Attitude Era, one of the things I remember was that when Stone Cold Steve Austin won the belt, we didn't have any good heels for him to face, except for Kane. And after Kane, we had to go into a babyface program with The Undertaker, and The Undertaker had to turn heel to kill time because nobody else was ready. You pitched Jeff Jarrett. Steve Austin refused to work with Jeff Jarrett. So maybe you don't know anything about booking heels and how they should be. And whilst we have different types of heels, and we have Brock Lesnar as the strong heel, not everybody's going to be that type of heel.
Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes, bro! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Guys, that's too loud.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
No es cierto, no es cierto, no es cierto. No, 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 no. Shut the fuck up!
Baby, what happened?
Shut the fuck up! AJ Lee is back! Yes! Oh my God!
Hey! 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 Hey!
Shut the fuck up!
Oh! Oh God! And that's AJ Lee!
So these reactions are the thing that ruins anything that I like. And the fact that WWE uses them is even more ridiculous. And we know that these people create WWE content for a living. So there's absolutely no way on earth that you did not work out that AJ Lee was coming in at some point. Maybe they could have been bought into the story that was out there that it was initially going to be Rhea and then Rhea would be replaced. Whatever nonsense was out there, made up crap. It was always going to be AJ Lee coming back in Chicago. But that would never be the reaction of a sane and stable human being. And the fact that they are using this company to overreact, and then the company are using them, is the thing that ruins everything decent that is happening. So whilst we talked about Russo for a while, underselling everything and hating everything and hate watching, and you know he's going to hate every single thing that they do, even if it's done perfectly. Like this segment, these morons will love everything. They will react to everything. They will overreact to everything. It's fucking embarrassing. And for me, they are the ones who are ruining everything that WWE do, especially when WWE advertise their platforms for them by putting these fucking embarrassing morons who make it embarrassing to watch wrestling. By the way, look at nearly every single one of these girls was an absolute pig as well. So obviously AJ Lee didn't inspire you to get to the gym or anything, or do something productive with your life. So she couldn't have been that much of an influence. But ultimately, that's where we're at. We're having people live masturbating to WWE content, and WWE are putting that masturbation fest onto their television show. So that's it for me. I'll probably be back very soon because I haven't touched on a lot of other things that I wanted to talk about here on this show, and had to primarily keep it to AJ Lee, and had to just this time properly throw Russo under the bus, because I'm tired of it now, and I think he's making himself look bad. I feel sorry for him because his legacy should be different. He is someone who booked the Attitude Era. He was flung into a very difficult situation in WCW, and he's not respected by the wrestling industry and the wrestling community, and it's not really fair. Like the stuff that he deserves credit for, he doesn't get credit for. There's a narrative out there, that Vince McMahon was the real genius who took, a few of Russo's ideas, and a lot of them were rubbish. I wasn't there, I don't know. But I think that's quite unfair, and I think he feels that his place in wrestling, in wrestling history, is not justified or solidified. And maybe he even felt that with Triple H coming back and Vince not being there, and given that he was a big player involved in Triple H's development and helping Triple H with D-Generation X, whether it be with Michaels or whether it be the four-man group, five if you count China, five-person group. And Russo was heavily involved in that. Maybe he felt like Triple H would turn to him, and now we are getting particularly hateful content where he doesn't like anything. But this isn't the way to do it. And sitting there with a bunch of sheep isn't a way to do it. I can guarantee you that every single person watching this show, and every single person that watches your show, as we know, every week, more and more people are unsubscribing because they're done with it. Everybody knows that your best content was with me. It's universal. It's the unanimous consensus. The only people that would disagree with that are the ones that don't like me, and I don't think any of those will be watching the show. You're at your best when you're working with me, because I was the only person who would keep it level. And while 70% of the time I would agree with you, because I still feel 70% of this product is bad, that I'm the only one who that 30% of the time would bring you back in. I wouldn't just be there and realize that, hey, I'm on Vince Russo's platform, or I'm doing a podcast with Vince Russo, where Vince Russo is the A side of it. He's the A side with that Mac guy. He's the A side with that cut Chris Featherstone. He's the A side with anybody that works on Russo's brand, because none of them have any significant name value. But even though he was also the A side with me, I've got the balls to actually sit there and go back and forth with you, because that's just not the type of person that I am. I'm not going to sit there for a paycheck and just control my opinion to suit your narrative. And whilst I said I agree with you 70% of the time, and that's probably going to get lost within the confines of this video, I do not agree with just hating every single thing, being biased and not being able to be objective about anything. Basically destroys your credibility. It leads to subscribers cancelling, which they are, I know they are, and it's not the way forward. So anytime you still want to do a show that's decent, and give your audience what they want, and you want me to come on, and you want to have a balanced conversation, and I'll even come on with some of that business news that you like and some insider stories or whatever you want to do, I'll always come on your show. But to continue to do this stuff with guys who just simply agree with you and are embarrassing themselves, and it doesn't matter because they're not going to do anything in the wrestling industry either, ever again. There's no place for Stevie Richards. There's no place for Bin Hameen or anybody else, any agreeable puppet that you choose to work with. But I'm not a puppet, and I'm calling you out about this AJ Lee situation, and I'll call you out to your face anytime I'm on a show with you and anything comes up where our opinions are different. And that's the difference between me and everybody else that you work with who's a sheep. And that's why our shows are simply much better when we decide to do them. So that's it for me. Until next time, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.